have you seen other productions? How many other versions of Macbeth have you seen?
Oh, over the years, many.
So is it, obviously this is an iconic play, is there any sort of intimidation factor about the other versions that you've seen, or are you just blotting them all out and just going?
No, I to be very honest, I had no intention of ever playing this part.
Uh-huh.
And if it wasn't for Fran, I wouldn't be.
Right.
So she's to blame.
Right.
So
I
no,
get the
I had
credit.
no, but the phone call with Dan was so funny
Right.
because it was the most laid back interview I've ever had in my life.
Uh-huh.
Where he just went, I'm not sure I want to do this. And just said, that's so bloody and so dark and so. Anyway, and so it was that. So I was kind of okay. And then he said something like, "We're just gonna do the play," which I always find refreshing. There was no concept,
Right.
And
Right.
so many versions I've seen where in the Macbeth comes out to do the "If It Were Done" speech to
Right.
get a bottle of wine or a cheese board. Or to load the dishwasher, and
Right.
so I was kind of very relieved to hear
Right.
that it was going to be just a normal production of the play as written.
Right.
And then he said, "So if you have any questions, just call me." And I was like, "Okay." And then he hung up, and then I was like, "Well, was that an offer?" Or I still wasn't sure, but it was Fran who asked me initially. So.
And what was it about working with Fran that was so appealing? Obviously, the fact that she's an astonishing actress, but I'm curious about your perception about
I think
her
you'd
as
be
an
hard
actress.
pressed to find anyone who wouldn't take the opportunity of working with Fran.
Thanks,
And
Con.
I genuinely mean that.
Thank
I mean,
you.
even I've watched her for years. She did a film which was very brave in its day called the Ken Loach one.
Hidden Agenda.
Hidden Agenda, which was about a journalist in Belfast at the time of the Troubles. So I've kind of known of her work since then. And we met, not even socially, just after shows on Broadway.
Yeah, our paths have kind of been going like that.
So, sort of a little bit of, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
In a great way.
Yeah, and so that was my ego boost. And I think the fact that Fran wanted me to do it would have negated any possible fears that I might have had.
Right.
That you brought up earlier,
Yeah.
about the
Sure.
the history of the part and the history of people who played it.
Right.
Just didn't come into it.
Right.
If she wanted me to do it, that was enough for
Done.
me.
Lady
And
Macbeth, done.
Yeah,
Right.
It's it's something that, like, as I've thought over the years of doing it, I've had opportunities to audition for different productions around the country in regional theaters, and I've never wanted to do it unless it was a great production, because it's not just the role, it's the play. And I think we're so fortunate that Dan understands that the power of it, and we walk out on stage, we plan it, and we deliver. And most of the scenes. And that's all you have to do. The language is gorgeous. It's a great story. It surprises you over and over again. It's great. But I also think, we were talking about it earlier too, what we have in common as actors is that we are interested in the respect of our peers. And that if you can actually build a professional life on that goal. And we have. People like to work with us. They come out for us. People want to work with Conleth if they know he's doing something. So that can take you all the way through. Just respect.
So
And earning it.
Right. So how's it going in rehearsal?
Great.
He's
So tell him about my panic attacks. This was really good.
Well, firstly, this all comes from a hugely brilliant and positive place. But Fran is so enthusiastic that sometimes she doesn't wait for you to finish what you're saying before she comes in with her lines, and then we'll, in the middle of her line, go, "Oh God, you hadn't go."
I don't do that.
She did. She so does that.
But it was.
And eventually, I had to go, "Fran, listen."
It was specifically this one scene where after, he's done the dirty deed. He's done the dirty deed with Duncan. And so it's all of this extraordinarily beautifully written scene of
Cover.
panic and cover and
And,
an existential crisis
Yeah.
on Macbeth's part
Very
after having done this and hearing the voices that are basically telling him, your life is over. Your life is over because of what you've done. And but from Lady Macbeth's point of view, it's a logistical nightmare because she's got to get him out of there so no one sees that they've done it. But and it's very hard. It was very hard for me to not panic. I was just panicking. I absorbed his panic. I've absorbed everything and just started panicking. What are we going to do with this? What are we going to do with it? What are we going to do? And I just became a panicking housewife rather than a very calculated
but it
and
was still
prepared
brilliant.
housewife, which is a different thing.
Still brilliant.
So I calmed down, and we're doing much better now.
Yeah.
You lobbied to play one of the witches.
Well, I don't know if I lobbied, but Dan said I'm thinking of double casting everything, and I said, great, I can be one of the witches.
And are you sort of, how are you approaching that? As a totally separate thing, or are there echoes of Lady Macbeth in there? What are you doing with
Well, Dan is really right about what do you do with the witches.
Right.
It is a really difficult thing because, and what's really great because Dan has set our production in the Middle Ages, so we're very close to the time that Macbeth would have reigned. So in that time in Scotland, and as in most everywhere, Christianity had taken hold, but paganism wasn't far behind. People were still living animistic lives, so especially in a place like Scotland. So the idea that there are men and women, there are humans in the community that are in touch with more ancient forms of religious practice and the way that people who had deformities or who were even widows or people with birthmarks, they were considered witches.
Right.
And also when Shakespeare wrote the play, James I, who had just come into power and who he wrote this play to perform for, was really into demonology. Not into it. He was interested in it and had written this whole treatise about it. So it was in the political and cultural conversation. So, but the difficulty with the play is that they're not characters. They are a entity. The three of them are one. And so it's really hard to figure out how to come to it as a performer. But so at one day, we're basically the three of us, the three actresses that are playing the witches, we're just throwing everything we know at it. We're just bringing all our stuff. We're bringing the bags, suitcases, the trunks are pulling in. But at one point I said to Dan, what's our goal? What's our goal? And he said, anarchy. You are anarchists. You are here to save the earth of Scotland because the men are destroying it
right.
with war. And that was, for me, that went,
I heard it.
and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, right.
Right? Don't
Great.
you think?
Absolutely.
You're the only actor from across the pond. Do you notice a difference in approach?
I can't make out what you're saying. No,
And we didn't practice that.
we're playing the big room next week. No, not at all. I'm totally humbled by the amount of goodwill and the welcome that I've got, and I'm very impressed by how hard everyone works and how brilliant everyone is. Wish some of them weren't so young and good looking, but you can't have everything.
What can you do?
know?
What can you actually
No,
do?
nothing. No, not at all. Very similar approach from everyone, I think.
Great.